Robert Pattinson is reportedly circling the role of the main villain for Denis Villeneuve's upcoming Dune Messiah at Warner Brothers Pictures. And Legendary, according to THR, the actor is reportedly looking at a role with speculation being it's the character of, where does your mind go with this stuff when you hear this news of Robert Pattinson?
Well, there's several different directions you can go, whether you talk about what does this mean for the production of Batman 2.
The Batman Part 2 is supposed to be shooting later this year. And as the article points out, he'd have to shove in his time on the set of Dune in between these two other projects. So what do you think? What's your feelings on this? Is this now moving towards the Batman Part 2 being delayed again? Or do you think this is much to do about nothing because the social media has been blown up about this a little bit?
But I thought I read an article yesterday that Batman had been delayed by 6 months again.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And
so, like, there's already something there where it's like, wait a minute, that was pushed back, and he's looking to take another big role, not a small little thing. This is a major event film with a big director as the villain that both comes with the filming time for that as well as all of the stuff that comes afterwards. And if that's what he's throwing in there, it seems like, okay, this thing's not ready. And it's the same studio. Right. So it's like people that are in the same with Warner Brothers are like, okay, we want to keep this guy in our house. Yeah. So let's put him in Dune. What does that mean for Batman? It just feels like there hasn't been any encouraging news about the Batman Part 2 in years. Like everything is, well, the scripts, we're working on it. We're working on it. And it's just discouraging.
The report you're referencing came from Nexus Point News, and they said they now state that the Batman Part 2 won't begin filming until early 2026 at the earliest. Now, there is no official statement, I don't think, from the studio themselves, but you bring up an excellent point. The fact that it's the same studio, they know that they're pushing it, and because they're pushing it, they want to reward their main actor, Robert Pattinson, with something. So now possibly this is something they've done to fill in the time where he normally would have been shooting the Batman Part 2. He'll now come on possibly as the villain in this Dune film and still be under the tent, as you say. But it's really curious because you look at this and you wonder why all the delays on this movie. And then recently James Gunn plucking Colin Farrell out of the Matt Reeves verse to put him into his verse for Sergeant Rock. So it's just a lot of curious moves going on behind the scenes with all of this stuff. And do you think we're going to get any clarity on this? Do you think we won't get clarity until after Superman comes out and we see how it does?
At the moment, it's starting to feel like maybe that's what's happening here, that enough time passed that they didn't get forward momentum on Batman Part 2 that they went, well, let's just see if we need to go all in on James Gunn or if we need to hedge our bets. Yeah. And when you're just a couple months away, you start feeling like, why would we hard commit to something when we're still at the point where we could pull the plug?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what especially now it feels that way because there's just been no updates. There's only been delays. Yeah. And it feels like Warner Brothers is doing this with a lot of the DCU of they want to see how people respond to this movie. Does it get the numbers they're hoping for? Is it kind of moderate or is it actual big disappointment? And decide from there where they're going to start throwing $200 million and what we're going to like hard green light and move forward on. But it certainly feels like Warner Brothers is going, let's just wait a few more months. Let's just see what happens. And then we'll start throwing our money around.
I mean, yeah, you hear these reports about DeLuca and Abdi possibly being on the chopping block. Then, of course, they're crowing like crazy after the success of the Minecraft movie. So now it becomes a little more, becomes more muddier. Then you hear all this stuff about how the Batman Part 2 is getting delayed. And then rumors that Pattinson is they're trying to figure out how to get him into the James Gunn verse of DC. How is that going to work? Tonal shifts, all of those conversations. And then you're right. I mean, there's a lot of pushback on this Superman movie after that sneak peek. It certainly wasn't my favorite, but I think a lot of people did like it. So you're seeing that it's not getting this universal crazy buzz necessarily. And it almost feels like it's lining up to be another one of these cultural touch point battle movies that we've seen recently. Sean, doesn't it feel that way when people on the right are already grabbing onto this and trying to destroy it and beginning the process of this?
Yeah, it's frustrating that that's what the space has turned into, where everything's a battle. And this one's extra tricky because of the weird Snyderverse type stuff.
Yes,
I'm a
right,
big Zack Snyder fan. I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill and Zack Snyder's DC movies. But then there's that side to it that's like what we would call it, the cult mindset, that like that's their whole world of movies is Henry Cavill is Superman. And so there's people that are angry about this before they've seen a frame of it, and suddenly people hate James Gunn. It's like, where's this come? Didn't we like James Gunn until 5 minutes ago? What's going on? I don't understand where this is coming from. And then Superman is just one of these characters that he's been around so long that everyone has connected with a different version of Superman. Where even in the last 20 years, 30 years, there have been so many TV shows and people love Smallville, or they love Superman and Lois, and that's what they connected to, or they connected with Henry Cavill. And so he's been reinterpreted so many different times that how do you find the version that everybody loves, that's a good on-ramp for my kids, that makes me happy, that makes 25-year-olds happy, that gets my mom who's 70 to go see it and she's happy? That's tough with a character where everyone has so many preconceived notions about the character. Yeah. And for me, it's my most anticipated of the summer. So I'm so excited because I love Superman. I love James Gunn. So I'm curious as to what he's going to do, but I'm so nervous too. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it.
Yeah, well, you get that weird feeling that you see certain channels or certain people are already starting to ramp up the content they're going to generate to go after this movie, and it really is super. I was watching something this morning and I was like, why is this guy even pining in on this stuff? And I was like, this is nonsense, some of his points of views and takes on this. And I'm like, this feels just like Star Wars all over again. This feels like shades of Snow White all over again, where people are lining up to try to destroy this movie and use anything. So we'll see how that plays out. But if you look at the track record right now, Matt Reeves with the Batman and with the Penguin, of course, he wasn't the showrunner, but he was the EP. Those are two solid victories in his ledger. Whereas James, Creature Commandos was fine. I don't know about the finale, but Creature Commandos was fine. But we haven't seen a theatrical film from him on the DC side of things to maybe counter that. And if this comes out and underperforms or doesn't do well or has mixed critics reviews that affect the box office, if you're David Zaslav, who clearly is a guy who just acts whenever he feels like acting, you can't. I mean, there's a rumor to be getting rid of the Looney Tunes franchise or brand, yet they're working on a Looney Tunes feature film. So it's very confusing what they're doing behind the scenes there. So there's all kinds of possibilities that this could go awry before it ever gets settled.
That's everything with Warner Brothers. It feels like everything it's all in flux. There's so many moving pieces to where it's not like you can just look at one piece and analyze it in a vacuum. Because there's even the murmurs about why it's taking Matt so long to finish the script of these vague allusions to things going on. Yeah, personal things or whatever. Filter it through that. You could filter it through the DCU, and do they want two Batmans and all those different things? Plus, David Zaslav, Warner Brothers as a whole. Right. How do you interpret this? I don't know, but I would love to know the behind the scenes of all of this.
That MCU book was so amazing. I hope one day someone writes a DC book that explores all of this stuff from the beginning through all the different regime changes through the David Zaslav era. I would love to read that and get some real knowledge about what went on behind the scenes. So
I love that. Even that Marvel book you were talking about, I was re-listening to it during my trip this past week out to LA to do that interview because it's so good. I love that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. We'll keep a tab on it. Keep tabs on Robert Pattinson and see where he goes. And of course, Superman is just a couple of months or 3 months away. So we'll find out for sure when that happens.